We're clear. Yes, Rich was right. It was 3. We did not have...
I'm Rich.
And I'm Josh.
Make sure your Walkman is at full battery because we're diving into our dad tapes.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to tape 14 of the Dad Tapes. Let's get rolling.
What are we drinking tonight?
Tonight, we are drinking K-May Brewing Company. This one is it's a lager. It's called Long Liner. It's 5% ABV. It's a crisp, snappy, balanced lager. I mean,
I was just gonna say that's how they describe it, and I think that they describe it very adequately.
Yeah.
It tastes like a very crisp, snappy, balanced lager. It's it's got a hint of something to it. I can't put my finger on it, and they don't tell you what it's brewed with, but it's good. It's good. I wasn't sure what to expect with it, but it's good. This is our third.
I think it's actually our 4th.
Is it our
K-May
fourth
Brewing?
K-May?
Yeah. Yeah, we had this. We had tan limes. We had...
You're right. No, this would be our third. There's the K-May IPA, right? We had that one.
Yeah, we had the K-May IPA. We had the...
Tan limes.
Tan limes. There was one more.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, there was.
I'll have to go back in the show notes just to prove you wrong.
Look, you talk.
Look, you're telling me right now, out of 14 shows, we've had 4 of them?
Yes.
4 out of 14 shows.
We've had 4.
That's a
K-May
2/7 ratio.
Because it was...
You know what? All right, so we're going to settle this shit right the fuck now then.
Right now.
Right the fuck now.
Because we're men, and we can't say, oh, we'll look at it, when we're done. No, we settle that shit
now.
right fucking now.
A few moments later.
You lost that bet, and I'm going to make you a shitty t-shirt.
All right.
It's going to be... We're going to have some merch for you guys.
Yeah. You know what? While we're talking about merch, we are in the process of making merch.
Absolutely are.
So you guys really need to follow us on our social media accounts so you can actually see what our merch is going to be, because we'll post what our merch is going to be before we go and list it.
Before it drops.
But you guys are going to like it. It's some cool shit, man. And a lot of old school
stuff, bro.
Yeah, it's fucking dope.
I clearly must have been a secret, graphic designer in my past life, because shit's looking pretty hot.
All right, so just so we're clear, yes, Rich was right. It was 3. We did not have the K-May IPA. We had the K-May Always Ready. I could have sworn we had the K-May IPA on the show. That's why I thought we had 4 of the K-May Brewing Company. But Richard is right. We did only have 3 at the K-May
I appreciate
Brewing.
that. Thank you. So, moving forward, beer is this lager's pretty good. It's I don't think we've had 2 bad beers out of all our tapes.
Honestly, in my opinion,
tapes.
we had. All right, so I thought we had 2 until we had the one, which was the Water Guns and Rainbows.
Well, we had the Water Guns and Rainbows,
and
we weren't too
before
fond
that,
of,
we
and
had
the Vienna lager,
the Vienna, the double nickel Vienna. I did not like that at first until I had the Water Guns and Rainbows, and I actually decided to have another, double nickel. And actually, honestly, now I can actually drink it. I don't know if it was just like a good beer at taste thing.
I think
first
it was. It could have been something we ate.
Yeah,
can't remember if that was the night that you ate over. Regardless, sometimes beer just hits differently at different times. So, how's your week been, bro?
Pretty good. My week was pretty good. Looking forward to next weekend having Hattie. It's gonna be a good time. I don't know quite what I'm gonna do yet, but we're gonna figure it out. I always come up with something fun. Something to keep her busy.
Going to the zoo again?
Fuck no.
Oh, so the zoo wasn't that much fun. It was
not much fun for me. For the kids, it was. Yeah. Oh, it's always fun for the kids. Come on.
Yeah, until your kid goes there every freaking week in
no.
March, April, and June, or in March, April, and early parts of May, and we just blow through the zoo. Well, actually, that was fun. because we didn't have to stop and see all the animals. It was just a quick breeze by, quite honestly. It was just like, hey,
Zoe, look, a monkey.
What's up, Buffalo? You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, what's up, tiger that, never does anything. And then it's just like playground. Okay, you know what? Screw it. It's early enough. Ain't nobody on the playground. Let's spend an hour here.
So how's your week been?
Same old, bro. Just I sound like I'm you now. Like it's just the same old week. Just work is work and just doing my thing. But
Kids are kids.
Kids are kids. Just monkeys and gorillas and gremlins and baboons. It is what it is. But the highlight of my week this week was when I had my mom going. So my sister's birthday's coming up in July. So shout out to Autumn.
Sure.
And my mom's telling me what my sister wants to do for when she comes here. She currently lives out of state. She's coming back here to Jersey for her birthday. And what her plans were. My mom's trying to organize some things. And
yeah.
Clearly we're pescatarian, right? So, we don't eat meat. We eat fish, but we don't eat meat. And I was telling my mom about this this meat neutralizer. And it breaks down the meat substance on a molecular level. Does that sound real to you?
What the fuck?
Exactly. I was just BSing, bro. And I had it going. I was like, yeah, I saw it on Shark Tank. Like, I tried it like a couple times, and what it does is it renders the meat substance meatless because it changes it down onto an atomic and molecular level. So it's no longer a meat substance. It's no longer a meat-based substance.
Yeah, you had her fucking going, didn't you?
I did. She's like, I just Googled it. It's not coming. I was like, for real? It's not coming. I was like, I don't know. I've had it a couple times. I couldn't find it. She's like, well, where can you get it? I was like, oh, just like this local vegan market. You could probably find it at. And she's like, well, let me ask like somebody who she used to work with who's a vegetarian or a vegan. And I was like, oh, you should probably ask, my sister's mother-in-law. She's a vegan too. They must have heard about it. And both of them just was like, what are you smoking? That's not a real thing. It sounds like her coworker was like, that sounds like something out of Harry Potter. I don't know how I made it sound believable. In what reality can you change meat to not meat for a vegan to eat the meat? You know what I'm saying? But hey, you know what? Shout out to you, Mom, too. Because you just, you believe in me that much. You believe in me that much that you're going to go and find some meat neutralizer. It was actually called Rid of Meat.
Rid of meat.
That's what I told her it was called.
Yo,
so I said it's a
great.
liquid that you just drop. I said it's a liquid that you just drop on ground beef because she was saying she's going to make turkey. So I was like, just drop it on the ground turkey. And you can serve us the turkey, but it's no longer turkey. She was sold.
It's just this big pile of fucking goop. Yeah, you know what's funny too? Because our parents used to do shit like that to us when we were kids all the time.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Now that we can do it and they actually believe that shit, it's like, fuck yes, this feels awesome.
I know. And then we get to do it to our own kids.
Yeah,
There's just been an ongoing thing with Declan where sometimes I'll just take a toy and hide it. And there's this leprechaun that lives in our house. It's this leprechaun that hides his toys. Sometimes I'll take this toy that makes noise and I'll hide that toy and I'll purposely walk by somewhere and be very inconspicuous about it and press the button to make it sound. And he's just like, oh, I hear it. Where's it at? And it's like he's running all over the place trying to find it. And it's like out of sight, but he can hear it. And he's like, the leprechaun has it.
Where's the little shit?
That's the stuff that I got to live for, man. It's like, that's being a dad, That's being a dad. I don't know if I'm prepared this week.
Why not, man? What'd you do? Forget your fucking book?
I didn't realize what time it was.
You live here, man. Your book should be here.
Call me Josh.
I don't live here. My book's here.
It's the only way it'll end up always here, huh?
Yeah, it ain't fucking leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
I ain't fucking leaving. So tonight is our reading from the Be Prepared, a practical handbook for new dads. It's going to be pages 117 and 118. It's going to be using the baby as a prop.
Such a valuable thing in life. Like half the reason I feel accomplished as a dad is the ability to use my children as a prop.
Like, yeah,
it works.
I made that. Men with babies come across as more honest, sensitive, and responsible than their babyless counterparts, whereas without the baby, women might see you as a predator and men as competition. With the baby, you are a big, harmless lug to all. As much as you'd like to rail against this prejudice, don't. Instead, why not take advantage of your sudden sainthood? Whenever you need to negotiate with someone, bring the baby along for leverage. Buying a car, use the baby. Buying a house, use the baby. Buying a prostitute, use the baby.
Buying a prostitute, use the baby. Yes. That sounds very a good parenting thing to do.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
Some suggestions. Returning an item without a receipt. The baby lost the receipt. I don't know what happened. She ripped it up.
That actually has happened. Bridget threw one out the window. It does happen.
Jury duty. Dude. Yo, if I knew I could get out of jury duty because my kid.
You know what, dude? I've used the stay-at-home dad card to get out of jury duty, I think, twice.
Getting prime seats. Whether at a concert, baseball game, football game.
What concert you bringing your baby to? That's my question.
I don't fucking know.
Are you going to a Led Zeppelin concert with a baby strapped on your chest?
Fuck yeah.
That's a great idea.
Getting bumped up in long lines.
Oh yeah, you purposely torture the baby to make the baby cry, so everyone's like, you know what, just go in front of me. Go in front of me.
I can't stand listening to your baby fucking cry anymore. Picking up the girls.
There you go.
This is one I can relate to. Yes. Yeah. No, I didn't really use her to pick up girls, but taking a sick day, dude. That's the best.
It is.
It really is.
Absolutely, it is.
Especially
when they're just born.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh, absolutely.
And it's the nice thing is like, dude, there's your fucking day. Like if they're anywhere between the ages of just born to like 6 months old.
Oh my god, the prime time to be calling out sick because of your baby.
The majority of the time they're sleeping, so you do get a lot of time to yourself. So basically, the segment of that book was just how to use your baby as a crutch, man. Like
as a crutch.
Yeah, how to get away with things with using your kid.
No, that's a baby. It's a prop, man. Just use a real baby, not a prop baby. You can't use a prop baby as a prop.
All right, Bridget.
I don't know how far that'll go.
All right, so our goal of the show tonight, from growing up in a neighborhood with average-sized yards to growing up on a couple of acres, what are the pros and cons of each? From our perspective, as both of us have lived in both situations, we will then provide some information on how both living experiences may shape you as a child and into an adult.
Because it's time for a data dump. So for starters, there are ultimately 3 types of communities. We're all pretty much aware of them. You have your rural communities, your suburban communities, and your urban communities. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, there is no real clear and concise definition of each. However, the overwhelming generalization is urban areas are metro, suburban areas are micro areas, and rural areas are country areas.
Alabama.
Specifically, Alabama. With those very loose definitions, it's not a wonder that 72% of people surveyed living in households just outside of a metro area consider their community rural. I mean, you're talking about people outside of like Houston considering their communities living in the suburbs to be rural. That's a joke. They wouldn't know what rural life was if it smacked them in the face. I wouldn't know what rural life was if I could say it. You know what I'm saying? So despite their census designation being in a micro area, one interesting statistic about suburb living is it's apparent that suburban families are feeling the financial pressure more so than the other areas, as the poverty level population for suburban areas increased by 53% from 2000 to 2016.
Damn.
It really goes to show those people who are feeling that crunch, the crisis, if you will. At the end of the day, it's all the middle class people who clearly live in the suburban areas. Meanwhile, both the rural and the urban areas had a 33% increase. So I guess it's safe to say everywhere is feeling it.
Yeah.
But the suburban areas absolutely by far. Another interesting statistic is that the concern for drug addiction is the lowest in suburban areas. 35% of the surveyed population living in suburban areas compared to 50% and 46% for urban and rural, respectively. Additionally, suburban areas are seeing an increase of population aged 65 plus. Additionally, suburban areas are seeing an increase of population aged 65 years and older by 39% from 2000, which indicates the older community is retiring to suburban areas more than anywhere else. And why would they go to a city? It's not intended for old people.
Hell no.
And when you're in a rural area and you're an old person, unless you grew up in a rural area, you're going to need to go somewhere that has access to things like a hospital. Ugh.
An hour away from a hospital and shit.
Finally, there's an interesting study from 2017 that concludes living in urban areas actually increases your vulnerability for psychopathologies with an even higher rate of affecting women compared to men. Ultimately, it appears that the suburban areas are the truest of blends for families, talking politically, financially, ethnically, scholarly, with also having the benefits of both rural and urban without the lion's share of cons from the other community types.
Yeah.
Traffic, noise, pollution, being too far away from doing anything.
Yeah, it's like where both of us are, you know.
Exactly.
Me and Galloway, UNHT, we're like 20 minutes from Atlantic City, you know.
That was our dad or dump.
So obviously with you growing up in a suburban area of North Cape May and moving to the home that was on Hand Avenue where you guys practically lived in the middle of nowhere in Courthouse, how did you feel from going from having a bunch of neighbors to only having one that was super noisy?
Yeah. Cousin Eddie. Growing up in a suburban area similar to where we currently live, it was nice. It was peaceful.
Yeah.
And the first house, because I lived in two houses between growing up in my childhood home and living on Hand Avenue and Courthouse, and the two houses were both in downtown Cape May. So it was a Victorian style area, houses on top of each other, more or less, not much yard space. So it was a very populous area. It's designated as a city.
Yeah.
So it's a urban area. The shift was a lot easier than you'd think. Just because the location of, even though it was a real rural area, we were just outside of a suburban area.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a couple acres. We had, honestly, I could count we had about 6 neighbors in a mile road stretch.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty rural area for that area. It was a easier transition than you'd expect. It was a very joyous transition.
Yeah.
The hardest transition was going from rural back to suburban.
Yeah.
That's a totally different beast.
Now, like, even though you had some issues with your neighbors, did you like the fact that you got to have a lot more privacy in that rural area?
I think I like living rural more than I do suburban.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The only reason we really made that shift was for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't suck. I still love the home. I like the area, and I like being closer to a lot more populated things to do.
Oh yeah.
But that being said, it just, it's just like we had 2 acres of woods. We had a trail that went through the woods. We had a creek right next to our woods. Like that's to me, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And though our kids had great experiences there, at the ages they are now, it's gonna benefit them more to have that interaction and socialization. You grew up in a family home that was absolutely rural. Bro,
Oh, yeah.
Your neighbor had a blueberry farm, and your other neighbor, I think, was an abandoned house that I've never even seen anybody live in, but I know you said somebody was there, but it's just, I never saw them. And there was like 2 houses for the next, mile road stretch, if that.
Yeah.
Like, across the street of you was just nothing. It was just woods. It was amazing. It was
all
awesome.
Conservatory.
Yeah, well, whatever it was just that, you know? So you grew up in that.
Yeah.
And then you moved out there to freaking Oklahoma and you lived in an apartment complex. And then here you are now, you bought a home in a complex, ultimately, a townhome complex. What was that change like for you? And of both of those situations, which one is your preference to live in?
Okay, so honestly, I mean, you said it. I grew up in rural. That's all I was all about. And then moved to the city. I obviously moved back here for a reason. You know what I mean? I am a rural person. I love the woods. Mm-hmm. You know, I love the quiet. Nobody to bother you.
You want to be where you can walk out your back door and take a pee and not have a neighbor staring at you. Honestly, that's what you really want.
Well, I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah, I want to be out in the morning and just whip that thing off the deck, and you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, dude, I had a spot like that.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah,
you know, I get it.
Now that you and Jill and the kids have moved into your more suburban area home, how much do you think it's going to impact your children growing up? You know, I mean, I know we were just talking about, like, me with Addison in the neighborhood that me and Kelly lived in at the time. Do you think it's going to be, similar for you guys here as well? I mean, I know it's a little bit different because you guys are a lot closer together in homes than we were in the neighborhood that I lived in.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to benefit them very well, which is why we even chose to do that in the first place, because we wanted something. Not only is the school districts not only are the school districts better here, and that was important to us, having a good school district to put our kids into and have them grow through. But we wanted something to where, kind of a situation where we have now, where Declan and Bridget can go outside and play with kids in the neighborhood. It's like you don't even have to go down, because we have a park literally right down the street, and it's a nice sized park. It's a good park. They got soccer fields, they have baseball fields, they have tennis courts there, basketball courts there. Yeah. They have the jungle, like the playground. They even have a workout area for adults. So it's a great little area, and that's why we liked it. It was just, the hardest part was just that shift and that transition from being able to look out our backwoods and seeing nothing other than, the fall foliage, which was beautiful. We just saw more benefit to it. So we hope that it's going to prepare them better with social skills and interactions. And the other thing, actually, that it didn't make the data dump, but one of the things in a suburban area and in urban areas as well is the actual ethnical blends.
Oh, yeah.
Where we were living previously, the cultural diversity wasn't nearly as much as it was here. Not only that, but just the population in itself wasn't, it's like half the size. So at the end of the day, that was important to us too, because we want to diversify our children as much as possible to get the best life experiences they can. Yeah. So in an area like this, it just made sense. Like all the looks and wants we had for our children, and for us to be able to, I don't want to say tolerate, because it has a very negative connotation to it, but for us to be able to adjust our lives to fit something better for our kids while we still maintain and find a level of happiness, this was the perfect situation.
Yeah.
You were a country boy, you still kind of got that little southern twang there, with your cowboy boots, and
always will.
And you know what I'm saying? So, what are your views of the complete opposite of urban? I know you said you clearly lived out. We said you clearly lived out in Oklahoma, city area, apartment complex, city vibes, college party area. What are your views of that type of living, and do you see any benefits in them?
You know what the benefits were? All right, so, honestly, when I lived in Tulsa, the food, bro.
Yes.
The fucking food.
Yes.
Dude, honestly, like, I'm not going to sit here and say that I completely hated city life. Mm-hmm. It's not for me, but where I moved to, and because of the situation I was in, like with going to school, I had made so many friends when I went that I really didn't think about that kind of shit.
It's a lot easier to socialize.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
you're not just socializing with your cows or your sheep. Yeah, you're not sheep shagging over there.
Yeah, no.
You actually got real women to shag.
Yeah, well, yeah, real women my ass. Anyway,
some
whatever.
of them smoke meth,
yeah.
But it is what it is.
Yeah, a lot of them smoke meth, not some of them. But anyway, I mean, I'm not the city person.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like the fast pace, man. It's just not for me.
Well, then what benefits do you see? Let's exclude suburban living. What benefits do you see of the total opposite of rural then? I mean, if you don't see many benefits, because you've been in both situations, now you could argue you're biased toward rural because that's where your roots are. That's what you know. So, you haven't spent enough time in a city or urban environment. But that being said, what benefits do you see in a rural compared to urban?
Well, I mean, yes, I am biased because I did live in a rural area. But in a sense, if I wasn't, for instance, where I lived,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of self-sustainable food,
Mm-hmm.
farms, stuff like that. It was all locally grown things. And in my opinion, I enjoy the locally grown things to eat as well as...
So do those out in Cali.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It could be done
see,
urban, but it's
I've never been to
easily
Cali,
accessible
so,
in a rural area.
Yeah. But I have the idea of I like the whole support of, local,
Fair enough. I get that.
And yes, you can have that with urban as well. When it comes to,
I was gonna say it's
small
always
shops and
Mm-hmm.
and
You got to
small
seek it
businesses
out
and stuff like that. Yeah, you have to find it.
Mm-hmm.
But I just mainly don't like the whole aspect of just being smack dab in the middle of, crazy shit going on with a lot of people, people driving like idiots. And, honestly, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, and you guys can take this however you want to take it, but I honestly think that there's a lot more crime in the city areas,
I did see it in some of the research that I was doing. Obviously, the crime rate is higher just because there's just more population. So when you're comparing it to the amount of crimes, but on the flip side, the percentage-wise, when you break it down to a per capita,
it's about the same.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
It's just more prevalent because there's just more people there.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, the crime rate is very similar in a rural setting compared to an urban setting. However,
the rural setting is just spread out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's, it just seems like it's less, despite the fact that per capita wise, it's not. It just seems like it's less. So yeah, I mean, it's just more in your face. And plus, when you're in a high populated urban area like that, when you're in a metropolitan area, you're also getting all that coverage on the news.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. So it's fed down your throat all the time through radio, through TV, all the media outlets, in addition to hearing it through people, in addition to actually witnessing it.
I mean, honestly, to kind of, bring it up on a better note, there are pros and cons to both things.
Yeah.
So it's very hard to compare. Obviously, I didn't really talk about that many pros about living in an urban area. There's a lot of shit to do.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah, you'll never find yourself really too bored.
No, hell no. There were so many different things that we would do after school or after work every day that there was never the same. And it wasn't, and I don't want to say it's work, but it wasn't work to find something to do. Yeah. No.
And you're not just going cow tipping. You can, there's a plethora of things you could do.
Yeah.
I get that.
So I know that we kind of dabbled a little bit about talking with the crime, and it's sadly inevitable. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about implementing any, like safety measures into your home, as well as, how to teach your kids to pay more attention to their surroundings more, because there can be some more chances that some crazies could come around and possibly cause some havoc.
In an area, suburban and micro metro and a metropolitan area, absolutely the risk of kidnapping and child trafficking and sex trafficking and just human trafficking in general, obviously by far more likely in a rural setting. And specifically, unfortunately, in the Northeast, Atlantic City is a major gateway for human trafficking.
Yeah.
And that's basically a neighboring city of us. So yeah, it's a concern. But I will say, the field of work that Jill's in, she's always kind of, she's worked in Atlantic City for years.
Yeah.
So she's seen firsthand experiences and talked to, firsthandedly to people who have lived through things like that.
Yeah.
So we've always had we've had a security system. Even when we lived in our rural home, we had a security system. We had the Simply Safe set up, with the door beeps, the system to go off at a certain time of night to be alarmed, and, the cameras outside of the home and all of that, all everything. So we do have it, and we try to teach our kids, stranger danger. But it's a little tough when your son just has so much love to give to the world and just wants to give everybody a hug. It's tough. How do you put that flame out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough to guide that. But yeah, it's we definitely try to implement some things along our daily lives to keep them safe and to keep ourselves safe, to make sure everything is copacetic, because at the end of the day, safety is paramount.
Oh yeah.
Time for a resolution here. Where you live is ultimately decided by your wants, needs, and unfortunately affordability. Use your best judgment when deciding where you want to raise your family, with considerations to what you're looking for to get from the community around you. I personally have moved from a more rural area, obviously. Like I said, had a beautiful couple of acres of woods with a beautiful trail and a creek. If you can't tell, I miss it. At our previous home, to a much more suburban feel. I still wouldn't trade the suburban feel at all, with sidewalks and curbs and your traditional neighborhood feel.
Yeah.
However, that move was, for all intents and purposes, our children, and giving them that important attributes and experiences we saw best for them.
Yeah.
So when you consider your next move or your next where to go, you really have to just consider what it is you want for your children, because it's no longer just a you thing.
Oh yeah.
If you're do you see New York City, Manhattan, the best place to raise a child? I'm not saying it hasn't happened, and I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just what fits your life, what fits your desires, and, ultimately use that to best guide your children the same way you parent them. So what time is it? It's time for what?
Situations.
What do you got? What do you got tonight, bro?
All right. So the first one, there's no title to it. It's by Just Looking. It says, today, my new husband of 2 weeks attempted to solicit sex from a hooker.
Nice.
He tried to excuse himself by saying, I would never cheat on you. I was just looking.
You know what, man? Here's you and these hookers, man. That's the third time. You got something going on over there that we should know about?
No, dude, no.
Are you sure about that?
No.
All right. I had to ask. I mean,
the next one's labeled not helping. Today, while trying to calm down my 4-year-old son who was having a tantrum in a store, a man walked up to me and said, you couldn't have worn a condom?
Wow.
What a dick.
Wow. That is fucked. Fuck that guy. Maybe his parents should have worn a condom, or his mom should have swallowed.
The next one. The All-Seeing Eye by Anonymous in the United States. It says, today I was about to have sex with my girlfriend for the first time. Just as she took her shirt off, her phone rang. It was her mom demanding she return home. Now I've been cock-blocked. My girlfriend's mom seems to be a goddamn clairvoyant. Awesome.
That was so funny.
Sorry about your luck, buddy.
Sucks.
And the last one says, today I found out that my I don't believe in premarital sex boyfriend is the father of my younger sister's newborn baby.
Wow.
After 4 years of being in a serious but sexless relationship, I am now single, horny as fuck, and an aunt.
That is, wow.
It is time for our social media shout out. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. Facebook is / The Dad Tapes. Instagram is at The Dad Tapes Podcast, and Twitter is at The Dad Tapes, even though we barely ever, use it.
I didn't know we had a Twitter still.
Yeah, right. And be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review of the show wherever you listen to podcasts. It really helps the show.
Just please, for real, guys. Before we part ways here, I just gotta say, don't forget to rewind the tape before putting it back in that damn box. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of telling you guys what to do. Just do your job.
You got a little serious on that one.
I'm getting sick of it.
Close the damn tape.
I'm getting sick of
Rewind
it.
the tape.
All right, guys. Take care.
Have a good night, guys.
Peace.
Later.